I experienced an amazing economy during Trump's presidency. You currently have someone that is in the White House as the vice president, and there's a lot of challenges that I think we're dealing with right now. So you have two technical track records, and I think Trump's track record has beat the current administration's track record. Hi, my name's Joe Camberato. I'm the CEO and founder of National Business Capital.
So, with the upcoming presidential election just a little over 2 weeks away, the economy has been cited very frequently as a major issue of importance. Speaking objectively, what has the economic landscape of the US looked like over the past 4 years leading up to this election? Given current metrics, what is it expected to look like, going into the future?
Well, I mean, it's been a wild ride coming, post COVID and coming out of COVID. I think that there's really been a very big lack of confidence. Wall Street has done very well. I think there's a very big disconnect what's happening with Main Street. What we're seeing from my view is that and I've spoken to bankers about this, private equity groups. Basically, what you're seeing right now is you're seeing businesses that are winning and really winning well, and then businesses that are not and that are really stuck and have not been able to recover post-COVID. And there's no correlation, this is all industries. You have these winners and losers, and you have some businesses that were doing well prior to COVID and then have really not been able to recover. The one thing that always concerns me, and just being a business owner myself, founding a company from zero, and just speaking to so many business owners and being so active in the business community, the biggest thing that really drives economies is confidence in the economy. And when there's a confidence, business owners are willing to take risk. And at the same time, consumers are confident in going out and spending.
So with that, one of the major things that people are following is the inflation rate, which is currently sitting at around 2.4%. The Federal Reserve has been pushing for a 2% goal for a very long time, but it's been one of the most common words used by both candidates in this upcoming election. And I'm interested to hear, what does this concept really mean, and why does it play such an important role with the economy in an election year?
Kind of all leads back to everything. If inflation's high, the cost of goods, everything's expensive, and it's really hit everyone's, pocket. It's great to see it come back down. The challenge is, though, the cost of goods haven't really come back down, and housing prices haven't really followed. So typically, in these economies where things get out of control, inflation gets out of control, usually you'll see cost of goods go up, and then you'll start to see like home prices come down. We've actually seen home prices go up. Cost of inflation's come back down and cost of goods have stayed up. So, there's a few things that I think, are starting to get talked about, but it's really important that there's a focus on energy prices, oil, fuel. It would be great if we could flip a switch and just become a green world overnight and everything was solar powered and cars are running electric. But the reality is, oil still fuels majority of the world, homes, and then, ships, tankers, planes, and these are things that are moving goods. So if you don't see oil prices really come down, then it's really expensive to move things, and it keeps the cost of goods up. And then at the same time, if we don't nail energy in the US, we'll become much less competitive. And then separately, home prices aren't coming down because you have a very classic supply and demand issue. You're starting to see in areas of Florida where prices are starting to come back in finally and getting back to a little bit of reality. You have a combination of people that are getting scared because the hurricanes that moved there that now maybe are leaving, and maybe some overbuilding that happened. But, in a lot of the other popular areas, I mean, I'm in New York, you just don't have a lot of new homes that are really being built at the pace of the need. That's really keeping the prices of homes through the roof.
So before we get to the candidates platform, I want to ask one quick question on unemployment. So it's currently at around 4%. Would you say that that's a good place to be at, or is there more of an issue there that you feel people should focus more on in this upcoming election?
Well, I think we've had it where it's lower. 4% I think is a pretty good rate. I forget what it was down to prior to COVID. I don't have those figures off the top of my head, but I think it was lower than that.
3.7 in 2019.
Yeah, so a little bit lower. I think there's also a big pool of job openings and then there is a pool of people that want to take those jobs. I think companies are concerned to hire right now. So those people that maybe are waiting on the sidelines, there's probably a lot of lower level jobs. I wonder if there's more confidence from some of these companies, would they be willing to pay more money for some of those jobs? Well, I think people are really concerned with what the tax rates are going to wind up being. If companies have to go back to paying more in taxes, are they going to be tighter with giving raises and paying employees more?
So you kind of mentioned a little bit about Kamala Harris's platform, and I want to focus on that quickly before we transition to former President Trump. So she has offered between $5,000 and $50,000 in business tax deductions, as well as homeowner down payment support in the form of $25,000, down payment support there, as well as a child tax credit to assist families, with new children. What are your opinions overall on Kamala Harris's economic policy initiatives? And what effects do you think that they're going to have on Americans if she is elected in November?
It's a great question. I think I'm someone that comes from, nothing and founded a company, from zero. I've always been a really hard worker. And, I don't believe in just throwing money at issues. What I'm always about with everything in my life and in my business, when there's a problem, it's getting to the root of the issue. Because throwing money at things, it's a temporary fix. But if you don't get to the root of the issue, then the problem's just always going to be there. So I think what I think is that if you give people $25,000 as down payment, all that does is probably increase home prices and increase more demand to go buy homes, right? Which as a first-time homebuyer to get 25,000, yeah, that would be amazing. I wish I would have got that when I bought my first house. If that creates more buyers, but there's not supply, then all that does is drive up the cost of homes. So you get $25,000, but are you spending 25 or 50 grand more on a house where that's just a complete wash? And then everyone goes and uses that, takes advantage of that, and it further locks up the supply. So it makes it even harder to find a house and drives up prices. So again, getting the root of the issue is incentivizing builders to build more efficient homes that make sense or are affordable at all levels, starter homes, medium homes, and the same thing like apartment and condos. There should be real incentives there. I know plenty of builders that will not build in New York because the permitting process could take 1 to 2 to 3 years to get approved to build something. So literally people leave and go build things in other states. That's crazy. So it makes us as a state, and you're in Hofstra and I love Long Island, I love New York, but man, it is like, it's really hard for us to have a business here to be competitive when your employees can't go out and they don't have access to affordable, nice places to live. Again, the $6,000 credit for children, I think that's great. And I think there's definitely some people that could use that. But again, it's not the root of the issue. How do we incentivize businesses to grow, to be innovative, to be able to grow efficiently, to make profits and get those profits trickled back out to wage growth and employees and other types of retirement incentives and things like that. That it's like you have a child, $6,000 goes fast, then what are you left with, right?
And then on the other hand, we have Donald Trump's platform where he's really called for maybe three very principal things. Number one, a national tariff on goods coming into the country. And number two, removing taxes on tips and Social Security. In addition to a myriad of smaller things. But based on those three policy initiatives, what are your opinions on Trump's policy platforms when it comes to the economy?
Well, I think the tariffs are important. He really did all of that stuff really well when he was in presidency and really put a lot of countries in check and helped us be competitive as a country. It's super important. We can't have other countries come in here and undercut, U.S. businesses, because then that puts us at a huge disadvantage. The Social Security, like paying tax on Social Security, I mean, you've already paid that money out of your taxes. So I do believe that you should get that tax free, and that would be amazing for senior citizens. So I definitely agree with that one. I'm pro low tax. I don't think that there should be no taxes on tips, but I do think there should be some sort of maybe like a reduced tax. I don't know what that number should be, 10, 15, 20%. I do think that there should be something there. I think that one was interesting. I was really surprised by it.
Well, the big one is the tariffs. Economists expect that a lot of the cost will fall down onto, the average Joe who's just trying to buy things from the store. So it really was those three things, but more so on the tariffs and the impact on the average American that you think we'll see if that happens if elected.
His playbook worked really well. The cost of things, inflation was the lowest it ever was when he was in presidency. Costs of things were down, fuel costs were down, wage growth, was up. He brought taxes down, which really spurred the economy. And I mean, I just, we were overwhelmed with funding companies that were growing and taking on tremendous amounts of risk because they were so confident. So if he follows that same playbook again, it worked really well, in his 40-year term, and would love to see that confidence brought back.